Welcome, everybody. I'm Rob. I'm a product success lead at Everfit. So my primary function is I lead the Everfit Academy. So I look to work on the education space there, and then I also work on the coach tools as well. So my background is primarily high performance strength and conditioning. So I worked with various professional, collegiate, and Olympic athletes around the world. So primarily in the US and then back home in Australia, where I'm from. But I am coming to you guys from California today, just to let you know. Let's just have a bit of a look at what we're going to cover today. So we're going to go through, like I said before, pretty much everything that involves delivering exercises to clients. All right, so we'll take a quick look at the exercise library. We're not going to spend too much time on that. I think everyone's probably pretty familiar with it, but we'll just cover a couple of key things. We'll explore the exercise profile. Then we'll look at things like tracking fields, primary focuses, and some of the advanced settings in there as well, and kind of just talk about how you can make the most of those. Then we'll dive into workouts and programs. So we'll take a look at the AI workout builder. We'll talk about different section and set types and what they're best used for. Then we'll also look at alternate and substitute exercises as well. Then we'll move more into the on-demand type template content. So we'll look at those ready-for-you templates that Everfit offers. We'll look at workout collections. We'll look at studio programs. And then we'll sort of tie all that together and we'll talk about what the best option or tool or feature is for each of those different client types that we mentioned and what's the best way to deliver content to those people. So with that in mind, the first thing we're going to do is actually start with those different client types. So we've got three main categories that we like to focus on at Everfit. So we've got a high touch, a low touch, and an on-demand. So high touch, that's that classic one-to-one. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. It's basically taking an in-person personal training session and kind of taking it online in a sense. So you're going to look at getting highly personalized programming for those people, often like a custom-built program. Looking at frequent one-to-one communication. So whether that be, direct messaging on the Everfit app, or whether it's, weekly check-in calls, either in person if you're a hybrid offering, or via video call or something like that. And then the other key factor here is often the client is looking for a high level of accountability and guidance within that, right? They're coming to you for your expertise, but then also that accountability as well. They want someone that's going to help them push through it and hopefully do what we're asking them to do. Then you've got that low touch. So that's more of that group setting, if you will. It doesn't necessarily have to be within a group, but it's kind of that style where, you've probably got a group of people all working towards a similar goal, right? Maybe it's weight loss, maybe it's muscle gain, maybe it's general health and fitness, whatever it might be, but everyone's sort of on a similar sort of goal. And often because of that, you've got like a pretty standard sort of template that you'll use. And then you might just make a few tweaks to an individual. Maybe they're like, oh, I've got a sore lower back or something like that. So maybe you'll throw in a couple of different exercises, maybe some mobility work, something like that. But primarily it's a template with a little bit of customization. You're looking at potentially a combination of either that one-to-one communication with the coach that maybe is a little bit less than what a high-touch client would look like. And then you're also probably adding in that one-to-many communication. So whether that be through announcements, like a forum, things like that. Those check-ins, you might still have those video or phone call check-ins, maybe on a less frequent basis. But then you're also probably going to look to get more of those check-ins through forms, things like that. And then also, there's still going to be a level of accountability that person's looking for, but this time it's going to be spread from both the coach and potentially from their peers. So if they are in a community forum or something like that, you've got that ability to use your peers within that forum to, hype up and celebrate wins, hold people accountable, all that sort of stuff. And then finally, the last one is that on-demand. So again, that's basically when a client signs up to your on-demand collections, potentially no communication at all with the coach. They literally just sign up, pick a program, self-pace. There's not really any accountability there. If they start it and stop it after the first week, that's kind of on them. So there's just those three different ones. Now, just to preface that, it's not to say that you have to necessarily fall into one clean section here. you might have a high touch offering that also has a community forum involved, or you might have a community forum in your on demand or something like that, right? Or you might offer on demand in addition to your customized programs in a one-to-one setting. So it's not to say that you have to be specifically all of these things, but this is just a pretty sort of general overview of what we talk about with each one. So I just wanted to cover that at the start, just in case anyone was unfamiliar. But now what I'm going to do is share my screen, and then we're just going to go through a couple of different things on the Everfit site, or platform, I should say. All right. So hopefully we can all see that now. So what we're going to do is start off with the exercises. Sorry, let me just pull this up. All right, cool. So we're going to go through to the exercises and just look at the exercise profile at the beginning. So for some of you, this may be quite familiar, but if not, I'm just going to go through the main things. So a couple of things is everything is pretty much customizable in this. So we really do encourage you to, make the most of this and customize it however you see fit. But you can do anything from change the name. These primary focuses. Now, I find these primary focuses really powerful. I'm not sure what your take on it is, but some of the things I like to do with it is, well, actually, first I'll talk it through. So we got the modality. So, that's whether it's strength, conditioning, cardio, power, all these different things. Then we have muscle groups, pretty self-explanatory there. And then the movement patterns. So with the muscle groups and the movement patterns, you can pick up to 3. And then the first one you choose will be the starred one. That's the primary one of the 3. But obviously, we know a lot of compound exercises, things like that, they use multiple muscle groups and movement patterns. What I find these to be really beneficial for is basically when I'm trying to build a program, maybe I want a bit of variety. So I know, okay, like I need an upper body horizontal push, but I've given barbell bench press and dumbbell bench press, a dozen times. What else can I do? So when I'm building a workout, I can actually use these filter functions to help me find exercises maybe I don't program as often, but still have a lot of value and are great exercises. Same thing with muscle groups. If I'm programming more of like a bodybuilding style split, then maybe I want to just look at back muscles or something like that. So it just helps with that filtering function. The next one is the category. So this one is a little bit confusing because strength is the same as the modality, but basically what this does is when you pick the category, it assigns a set of tracking fields. So if I switch it over to timed, for instance, it's going to give me time. You can also then adjust these as you want. There's a list of there. We'll cover these a little bit more when we jump into workouts in a second, but I just wanted to highlight those. You've got your instructions where you can obviously put the instructions you want. We have instructions there, but if you have specific ways you like to teach an exercise, by all means, go through here and add your own. The next one is over here on the right-hand side, we have the media section. So this is obviously where you can upload a link to a video. This is generally the best spot to have like that 3 to 5 second looping style video. If you have a longer video that maybe you've got, a 60 or a 90-second video of you either explaining in more depth how to do it, or maybe you're cueing someone through the exercise, the best place to do those is actually with this link here. And that's where I would usually add a video like that. This one on the right-hand side is what's going to show up in the app. And then like you hit play and it just loops around. But this one you'll actually have to go into. So that's why from a client perspective, it's better to have the short looped video on the right-hand side and then the longer explanation video here on the left. Now, some advanced settings. These have only been in action for probably the last 4 to 6 months, so they are a bit new. But basically what you can do is you can add equipment, which is, again, really good for when you're searching, filtering exercises. Default alternate exercises. So again, if you want to always have a dumbbell bench press show up as an alternate exercise for a barbell bench press, instead of having to do that in the workout every single time you program it, you can actually use them in here. And that's obviously going to save you a lot of time. You can also have a default note. So this note will always show up for that particular exercise when you're building a new workout. You can also add synonyms. So again, this is also a really good feature for when you have a team. So maybe there's a couple of coaches or trainers on your account. Maybe one of you likes to call an exercise something and someone else wants to call it something else. You can drop these synonyms in. And that way, when you're searching in the exercise library, it'll show up for either the full name or the synonym at the same time. So, like I said, I don't want to spend too much time here, but hopefully that's just added a little bit of clarity there for you. You can also, once you're in here, you can, again, filter these exercises list these exercises by modality, muscle group, movement pattern, and category. You can also do a most recent, which is kind of cool. So if you're looking for exercises maybe you haven't programmed in a long time, it's always good to kind of flip that around and look at the ones you haven't used. And then, of course, like I was mentioning before, when you can come in and filter. So when you're looking for exercises, you've got the ability to filter between Everfits or your own custom. Now, if you take an Everfit exercise and you edit it in any way and save it, that will become a custom exercise. So just keep that in mind. You can search for videos with or without exercises with or without videos, by tags if you want to add them. And then again, the ability to search and filter through those primary focuses can be really important as well as the equipment. So just wanted to give everyone a little bit of an understanding there before we then moved on to workouts. So what we'll do is head over here. So the first thing I want to do, I'm sure you guys have probably heard this by now, but the AI workout builder, this is really awesome. It definitely saves a lot of time when you're trying to build workouts from scratch. And we've also just recently released the ability to upload a PDF as well. So if you have, workouts, resources from, if you're coming from another platform and you can save those workouts as PDFs, you can then drop them in here, upload them that way. Saves you having to build them from scratch. Same thing if you've just done a certification or something and they've given you some templates to use, you can quickly add those in here with the PDF function. Or as I'm sure you guys have probably seen, you can add in text as well. So if you add that in and hit generate, then it'll obviously pre-populate for you, as you can see there. And then what you can do here is if you then want to go and make changes, you can obviously do that. And you can also flick over to the standard builder as well. And it takes you into that ability. So you can look at exercises, sections. You've again got those abilities to filter through all those exercises to find them. And then like I was saying before, if you're unfamiliar, to get to the alternate exercises, you can go here. So if I add it in this way, it's only going to be, the alternate exercise will only appear for this specific workout. But if you add it in through the exercise profile itself, then it'll always populate whenever you add that exercise to a workout. Sorry, I'm just checking a couple of questions pop through in the chat here. Sarah, so when you say export full PDF programs, do you mean importing them into Everfit or exporting them out of Everfit for a client? That is a good question. I'll double check on that. I'm not sure off the top of my head if you can do the full program or not, but I will look into that and let you know. Yeah, so I do believe at the moment it is only one workout at a time. I can check with that and get back to you though. Colleen, so which feature specifically are you referring to when you are asking about the ability on a computer or a phone? I'll see if she drops in a minute. At the moment, yeah, Tyler, like Greg said, thanks, Greg. You can only select one alternate exercise at a time. We are working on updating that feature. The AI feature is only on the desktop version at the moment. Cool. All right. Okay, so yeah, sorry, just jumping back into this. Okay, so when we're looking at the workouts, the one thing I want to focus on particularly at the moment is, or two things actually, is the type of set. So if you're unaware, so you've got here regular, warm-up, drop set, and failure sets. Just to give a bit of an understanding, if you keep the regular, everything will act as normal. if you put a warm-up set in, essentially what that does is it removes that exercise from the total volume lifted. So, when you get to a workout complete and, maybe you get some personal bests or something from a client, and it'll have max weight, max volume, and estimated 1 RM. Those won't account for any of these exercises that have been deemed a warm-up set in this specific scenario. Drop sets and failure sets, if you're familiar with those, it's just a really good way to alert the client from that. I usually, if I were to program a drop set or failure set, will still leave a note in the exercise just in case the client isn't as familiar with those terms as maybe we are. And then the other thing I really wanted to talk about is the sections. So definitely make the most of sections. So you can build sections either within a workout, or you can even go back to the workout library and you can look at a whole library of sections as well. So again, if we're going to add a new section, we've got these 5 main types of sections. So regular is pretty standard. Interval, as you see there, it's great for HIIT workouts, circuits, basically anything you want to stay or have the client stay on a timed scenario. I love to program like cardio runs and things with the intervals personally. AMRAPs, these are great. I love throwing an AMRAP in for a finisher. Obviously, if you're a CrossFit style coach as well, AMRAPs are going to be really beneficial for you there. Timed rounds are really good for like trying to program like records. So if I've got somebody, maybe I'll throw a time session in there, section in there, and be like, all right, cool. Like, it's a 2-mile time trial or something like that. So I really like to do that. Obviously, you can also do it with rounds as well. But one thing I do want to just quickly show you is just to understand. I'm going to quickly just put a couple of exercises in here. Not too stressed about what the actual exercise is. But as you go and change, maybe I've got 2 sets. If I switch it to an AMRAP or a timed, it's only going to have 1 exercise. So just make sure that if you're going to switch to one of those and you don't want to make extra work for yourself, only have the 1 set. And I'll show you what I mean. Oh, interval's probably wrong. As you can see here, it's going to say you only get 1 set per exercise. So then it's populated that exercise twice, which when I first started out was a bit of a pain. Then you have to go in and delete the exercise. So just a little tip there, just making sure that you've only got the 1 set per exercise as you go through here. I'm just going to pause for a minute. See the chat is going off again. Sorry, I can't see it. Okay, looks like everyone sort of answered the questions in their own. Can you expand a bit on how the droplets and drop sets and failure sets appear on the client end for them? Yes, so drop sets, failure sets, basically in a similar sense, when that exercise appears, it'll have the drop or the failure set there. Essentially, it's going to work the same way. So they're just going to input their, like if it's a drop set, they'll input the sets and the weight for that primary one. So if I were to do a drop set, I would probably have, sorry, I'm just trying to switch back to a regular session so I can show you what I mean. So maybe I have 3 sets. So if I wanted this one to be a standard set and this one to be a drop set, I would put the drop in for that and then just explain in the note that it was a drop set and to record the first weight and reps in the first one, and then the same thing for the second one. So just explaining that maybe there's 2 drop sets there, and that's technically 1 set. And then if I wanted a 3rd set that wasn't a drop set, I would just either have it as a regular set or maybe a failure set, depending on what I'm trying to do. So hopefully that helps explain that. Yep. I'm just checking. How can the client see the weights? Yeah, so Rowan, so how can the client see the weights they've lifted before? Sorry, I should have set this up that I could screen share a client app as well. I didn't think about that. But essentially what they'll do is when they're in the workout screen, there's a little sort of like reverse circle, looks a little bit like a clock with an arrow. They click that and it's going to pop up, and then they'll be able to see all of the history for that particular exercise dating back to any time they've done it. So they just have to click one button on the screen. And like I said, I unfortunately can't show you that because I didn't pull a phone screen share up. But that's definitely something that I'll keep in mind for the next time when we have a similar style of webinar to this one. Kevin, in regards to that, yeah, definitely something that we could look to do. I'm just trying to think of the best way. If you can drop that in as a bit of feedback on Canny, that would be really good. And then we can definitely start to take it from there. Okay, sorry. All right, so just checking everything there. Just checking. I've covered everything here. All right. And then what we're going to do from here is move into some program templates and some sections. So what we can do with programs here, the first one, if you're not aware, is I want to just let you know about coming to the program library, coming up here to explore templates. And then this is a bunch of pre-made program templates that we've made. So you can just go ahead and download those. There's a bunch of different ones, so you can choose between experience level, duration, and then obviously got some filtering between the modality, things like that as well. So you come down here and find something that you're interested in. So, all right, maybe this particular one is what I want. So I can click on this. I get a bit of an understanding about what the program is, a bit of an overview of what the weeks look like. And then I can go ahead, click download, and it's going to go straight into your program library. So what I've found too is because these are pretty sort of standard structures to a workout, what is a good idea is to download a few of these, and then I can kind of come in here. I can open it up. I can play around. I can edit it as well. So what I might do, actually, sorry, I'll take a step back. When I'm here, is I'll duplicate it to begin with, and then save it. And then basically what I'll go in is just go into it and then start editing from that way. So that way I don't have to go through the process of structuring out every workout within the program over and over again. But I can just go ahead and edit those templates. And that's one thing that I really wanted to touch on now is definitely use that to your advantage as opposed to having to go in and start from scratch over and over again. Once you've got a program that's in the system that you tend to like to build programs in, definitely just start duplicating and editing, and it's just going to save you a bunch of time when you go through that process. All right. And then the other thing that we wanted to look at is the on-demand collection and the studio program. So studio programs is essentially like having a library like this, but accessible to your client. So the studio programs are going to appear just like any program that you would give to a client, only they get to go in and pick and choose it themselves. So when they open up the workout, it's going to look exactly the same as a program you've assigned. Whereas the workout collections are video-based programs, so they're really good for things like yoga, Pilates, stretching, even potentially like Peloton style video-based content. So what you can do is, where are they? So as you can see here, like I said, like mobility and yoga, they're probably the two key ones. So I've got one in here. The other really cool thing that you can do is edit what it looks like on the client end. So if you want the format to change from large cards to narrow cards, it might not change. They only have the one in here. There you go. You can see it, or I can flick around and list it out, which I find is really good because sometimes I want to structure different collections in different flows. Sorry, I'm just sorting in the chat here. Daniela, when you say can the workout collections be customizable, can you just provide a little bit more context into that? Oh yes, absolutely. So these are there won't be any collections in here. You do have to create them on your own. And how you do that, is if you wanted to go into workout collections here, into an on-demand workout, add a new workout, and you can either choose a regular one or you can choose a video workout. You can drop in the link and then you can fill out some labels as well. And that's how you make them. And then once you have a set of those, you can then go ahead and create a new collection. So you hit collection, you'd name it. Don't need a tag for this one. Oh, I guess we do. And then you've got the category. So you create a category. I'll just call it one. Then you can go through, add a workout. And as you saw before, from those list of on-demand workouts, you can go ahead and click which one you want to add. And that's how you would do it. Yes, that is correct. You can definitely choose. So basically, you can create as many of these collections, and then you can assign which ones your client gets access to as well. So yeah, if I go back into the workout collections here, I go into this one, I go to this overview, I can go into clients, and then I can add clients to it, or I can remove clients from it. So hopefully that explains that part of it. And then studio programs work in a similar fashion. But again, these are just programs as opposed to individual workouts. So again, if you were offering an on-demand product and you wanted to have individual workouts, you would use the workout collections. If you wanted it to be a structured program over 6 to 8 weeks or something like that, you would then use these studio programs. So it's just a difference between a single workout versus a program of workouts. All right. So hopefully that covers that. If anyone has any other questions around studio programs, workout collections, or anything, feel free to drop them in now. Otherwise, we'll then sort of move on to the final part of this, which is just talking about what is best suited to different client types. Sorry, there's a question from Stella. Can our clients add their own workouts from the exercise library if they go to the gym on their own for an extra workout? Do you mean like add it to a current workout that they're already doing that you've assigned, or do you mean create a workout from scratch? So yeah, Sally, if you can drop a little bit both. No, they can't create their own workout from scratch. We are working on the ability for them to add an exercise into a current workout that you've assigned to them. We've got a bit of feedback from that. The other thing actually I wanted to show you as well was we talk about alternate exercises, which is basically like, say you've got a barbell bench press, and then you as a coach assign the exercises that they can choose from. So maybe you do dumbbell bench press and maybe you do incline bench press. There's also one other feature where if you go to a client and then you head over to their settings, you can scroll down to the client workout settings. And this one here is allowing clients to replace exercises. So what that does is instead of having one or two alternate exercise options to choose from, they can choose from the entire list of exercises, and you can control what that list entails. So you can have your general exercise list where you can go in and you can create a specific list of exercises. So maybe I don't ever want any clients doing barbell snatches, for instance, right? So I can make sure that my exercises in here don't contain those. The other option that you can do is, again, allow exercises from the entire library, or I could turn this off and I can make it that they can only use exercises that they've already done in the past. So that way I know that they're never going to do an exercise or select an exercise that they're not ready for, because I know, all right, I've programmed the exercises for them based on their ability. I know that they can do those and they're within their capabilities. And like I said, again, if it's a beginner client, I don't want them going and picking some really advanced exercise that I don't think they're ready for yet. So just a couple of ways where they can do that. Now, just to clarify, this is only to replace an exercise in a current workout. They can't add an exercise to a current workout yet, but like I mentioned, we are working on that feature. All right, so a few more questions coming through. If you add equipment, is there any way to give a client a list of equipment needed for a workout, or best to add a PDF? That's a good question. I don't know if anyone has any tips or tricks on that. It's not really something I've had to do in the past. But yeah, if anyone has any thoughts on that for Sarah, feel free to drop them in there. Okay, I see a question or a comment from Megan. What are these sections used for? Are you talking about the workout sections, Megan? So I'll quickly drop back into a workout. So Megan, hopefully this will answer your question, but basically what sections do is they group exercises. So when a client opens an app or the app and a workout within the app, instead of having all of the exercises listed in one long list, they'll kind of be broken down into sections. So, for instance, for this one, you'll have section one where it'll only show these particular exercises. So, how I personally tend to do it is I'll kind of create like a section and I might title it either like primary exercises, or maybe it's this, there's a power block, or maybe it's a strength block, or maybe it's a finisher or something like that. So one, it helps the client sort of get a grasp on what the goal of this section is quite quickly, because they know, oh, okay, cool, it's strength, it's likely going to be, higher weight, lower reps. Or if it's power, then maybe, it's low reps, but really explosive movement. And again, that takes a little bit of education on the client's part from you as well, potentially, just to kind of do that, depending on what your system is. Or again, maybe I'll have primary block, secondary block, or primary accessories, whatever I might name it. And then what I usually tell clients in that aspect too is like, I don't mind if if you get an increase in weight or you get some kind of PB in the primary ones, then it's okay if your accessories maybe don't increase in weight or whatever, or however you like to potentially program. That's just a personal preference that I like to do. But then what you can do is give different types of sections. So again, as I come back to this one, you've got regular, and interval is basically it's going to run on a loop. So if I switch this over to intervals, then it's going to be on a clock. And as soon as the client starts that particular section, the timer will start going. So it'll basically run an internal timer for them and let them know, when to work, when to rest, things like that. If I switch it over to an AMRAP, like I said before, this is why you should cut it down to one set unless you want to appear multiple times. But basically what you do here is you set the duration of a countdown section. So an AMRAP is essentially a countdown. So if I want it to 10 minutes, again, what will happen is once the client starts it, the countdown timer will begin, and they've got to try and get through as many rounds as possible within that time frame. And then if I want to customize it into a time session, this is basically the inverse of the AMRAP section, where I say, okay, I want you to do 5 rounds of this particular circuit or block or whatever it might be, and then a count up timer begins, and then as soon as they finish their 5 rounds, they hit stop. And again, so this is maybe something I might use for like a time trial, or like a workout of the day, like a WOD in CrossFit or something like that as well. So just different functionalities to help you deliver different types of modalities. So hopefully that clarifies your question a little bit there, Megan. So I'm just doing that. Jason, I'll come back to this question at the end. Sorry, just reading Becky's question. Can a client have all views of a workout? So the previous week, the current week? Yes, you can. So how you would set that up is, again, going back to the client settings, scrolling down here, I would just highlight all the ones I want, and I can potentially even have it to be plus 4 weeks if I wanted. So yeah, again, with this, what you would allow access to might sort of depend on what your product offering is. So if a client is on a subscription-based model, maybe I'll only want them to see the previous week and the current week. So obviously current week, pretty self-explanatory. Maybe I want them to see the previous week as well in case they missed a workout last week and they want to catch it up. If they're potentially paying for a full package, like a 6-week program, for instance, they've paid one lump sum, they get the entire program, then maybe I would allow them to see the entire 6 weeks there. So current week, second week, and then plus 4 more weeks. So that would be the entire 6 weeks there. Because they pay for it in advance. But if they're paying on a subscription basis, maybe I don't want them to see what's coming, because then they might potentially take that and quit or something like that, right? So again, just little things to kind of allow you to have flexibility to give your clients what makes the most sense to you and your product offering. So Bill, no, you can't. Sorry, you can mix timed exercises and regular exercises in a superset. You can if it's in a regular set, a regular section. It just needs to have the same number of sets. So again, let me go back into a workout quickly. Sorry, I know we're jumping around a little bit here, but I figure this is probably more valuable to just go through a lot of these questions and answers as opposed to me kind of talking about it. So yeah, so for instance, here's a superset here. I've got goblet squat and I've got cable rows. So this one, if I want it to be weight-based, maybe I want to come here, customize the field. I don't want it to be reps. There we go. I want it to be time-based. I can have that there, as you can see. But yeah, like I said, there just needs to be the same number of sets in a superset. So obviously I can't have 4 sets of squats and 3 sets of rows. Otherwise, it's not going to link. So if I add a set to one, it adds a set to both. If I remove a set from one, it removes a set from both. Actually, that's one thing I also wanted to cover. I didn't cover earlier, but the customized fields. So again, we've got quite a few different things. So time, obviously, pretty standard one. Speed. So if you're working, cardio-based exercises there. Cadence, again, if it's, probably more likely to be cycling at that point. If you want to program it by distance, so whether it's long or short, long is basically meaning like miles or kilometers, depending on your system. Short is going to be yards or meters. So again, just giving you that ability. RPE. So again, if you like to program based on intensity through RPE, you have that ability. If you prefer to program intensity through reps in reserve, you've got that. You can put heart rate or percentage of heart rate. Again, probably more so focused for cardio-based workouts. You can do calories, watts, RPMs, rounds. So you've got quite a few different ways to program that. And then the other one you can also do is going up here is using 1RM percentages as well. So you can come through here and maybe I want it to be 60% for the first set, and maybe I make that a warm-up set, right? And then I get into my working sets and I want 80 and maybe 82 or something like that. And if this is, just in the general workout library at the moment, so this isn't attached to any one particular client, but if you were in a client's training calendar and you did this, the weights would automatically update based on that client's 1RM if they've done that exercise before. If they haven't done the exercise before, it's going to show up like this until there's some data in there that we can pull to generate those values. Okay. So Daniela said, when would you use sections instead of blocks? So Daniela, just in that question, I believe in that particular scenario that you're talking about, sections are blocks. It's just the terminology you use for them. So if you create a section, that's going to essentially show up as a block of exercises in that client's workout. So to your point, if you have sections, once you start a section, you can't access the other sections until you've completed that, or you go back in and you cancel that section. So it does kind of lock you into it, which can be good and bad. Again, like I was saying, the way I would kind of do it, by doing like, a strength block and then a power block, or a power block and then a strength block and then an accessory block, for instance. I don't want them to be doing any accessory exercises, or I don't want them to be mixing strength and power. I want it to be the way I built it in that structure. So it just sort of depends on how you want it. If you want them to be able to freely move between all exercises at any point in time in the workout, I would either put them all into one section, or I would potentially not use a section if it wasn't needed. Yes. And with sections, yes, you can. So when you create a section, you can save it, and then, so if you create it within the workout, it won't save. But if you come here to the sections and you add a new section, so say we just want to do an AMRAP, and then I want to actually just pull these guys in. Cool. So here's my section here. I want to save that section. Actually, instead of this, maybe I'll call it like finisher. Ugh. There we go. Finisher. Oops. All right, here it is in my workout section. So my section library. And then if I go back to workouts and I go to this particular workout again, I can go either up to this tab here and switch from exercise to sections. Here's all of my saved sections, and I can just drop that in. And then there it is. So this is also great for like warm-ups, cool downs, things that, you just want the same set of exercises. You can basically just create them all in these sections. Maybe it's just like warm up 1, warm up 2 or 3 sort of thing, and then you just kind of plug and play them. It's a really nice way to save you having to do those sorts of things. So that definitely is another benefit of the sections there. Okay, just working my way through. Is there ability for a client to pause a workout? Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily pause it, but if they exit a workout or they hard close the app, the next time they go into that particular workout, they'll be able to resume it and pick up from where they left off. So in a roundabout way, there is the ability for that to occur, Bill. Matt, yes, there will be a recording of this sent out to you as long as you allowed the email communications when you signed up to it. Russell is asking, can you create a break or a pause in a program and push the whole program by a week? Say the client got sick or something like that. Absolutely. Well, I guess it depends on how you do it. If it's like a one-to-one type client, then yes, absolutely. As a coach, you can go through and move their programs around. You might also recall in the settings of the client, the ability for a client to rearrange workouts as well. So that's also an interesting one. At the moment, though, from a coach's standpoint, if I go to their training calendar, and let me just add a program real quick. So here's just a basic one. At the moment, what you would have to do is you wouldn't necessarily create a pause, but you would, oh, that's a bit of a pain. You would just manually move the workouts for the client, which I know is a little bit of a pain, particularly if if they're in like week 2 of a 12-week program, it might be a little bit of a nuisance. But at the moment, that is the current way that you would do that. So Melissa's asking, how do you program a one and done program to sell as a low ticket item? Example, a 6-week program. So Melissa, that's when you would most likely use those studio programs that we talked about. So again, just showing you in my program library, I have all of these programs. These are primarily the programs downloaded from the templates. But then what I'll do is go to my on-demand selection, my studio programs, and then I would create a program and I could copy it from the library. So again, it brings up all the programs in my library. So maybe I want to create this 6-week one that's designed for intermediate people with a full gym. And create the studio program. There it is. I can go through. Well, this is a little bit long, but so that you can go through that. I can assign a level of program for it. So when the client looks through, they can search by level. Gives you an overview. You can then assign a client to it when they sign up, or probably the best way to do it would be to create a package with an auto flow or an onboarding flow, and then they would be able to basically go to your payments packages or your package landing page, buy that through the payment integration with Stripe, and then the onboarding flow would basically deliver it to them. And as soon as they make the purchase, they would get that program delivered to them for that low touch or low ticket style. And then if you're interested in learning a little bit more about onboarding flows, auto flows and stuff, there is a webinar recording from previous ones from 4 Moves about that. And then we're also working, hopefully by the end of this week, to have a pre-recorded version of how to set up payments packages and things like that. So keep an eye out for that coming in the next week or so on Everfit Academy. William, yes. Sorry, you can definitely move sections around within a workout. Sorry, I didn't show that when we had it in there, but yes, it's very easy to move things around. Um, all right. Is Studio Access an additional charge? So if you're on the Studio program or the Studio payment package within Everfit, you get Studio programs included. If you're on the Pro plan and you want, sorry, and you wanted access to that, you would need to get the on-demand add-on for that. All right. Cool. So yeah, so just going back to taking some of these items and or features and then what kind of works best. So again, these studio programs, workout collections, these are going to be really good for those on-demand clients. However, you can certainly use them as use them with high touch or even group clients as well, and can often be a really good source of some extra revenue as well. So you know how I could potentially set that up is if I've got a high one-to-one client, a high touch one-to-one client, and they're like, yeah, hey, I want to do, I want to lose 5 pounds, or I want to, bulk up a little bit or whatever. So like their primary um, program is around strength of some kind. Maybe what I can do is then offer a on-demand collection of yoga workouts, and then I can maybe sell that as like, hey, like for an extra $20 a month, get access to these 50 yoga videos. Or maybe it's, maybe I have in my studio programs, I have like a running program or like a couch to 5K or something like that. And again, it's like you can either offer it as an upsell to potentially generate a little bit of revenue, or alternatively, what you could do is just offer it to them as an all-inclusive. So maybe you've got a couple of different tiers, right? So maybe you've just got like your standard package, and then you've got an all-inclusive package which includes all of these, or something. Same thing with the group clients. Maybe you can offer that as an additional upsell, or you can include it depending on what you want to do there. And then sorry, I'm just keeping an eye on the chat here. So Casey just asks, is there a way to add a personalized video to a workout or a program? Yes. So there's a couple of ways you could do that. Like Greg said, you can add it specifically to the workout itself, the exercise itself. So I'll show you again really quickly. In here, this is where you would add a link to a short looped video, but if you wanted a larger, longer video, you can use this link down here. The other thing you can do as well, depending on how you like to set it up, but you can use freestyle sections. So I didn't talk about this before. That's probably the one that isn't, but this is really good. Kind of gives you a lot of flexibility here. So what you can do is you can add exercises the same way you would do any other way. But then here you can also drop in a file, a video link, anything like that as well. So you can also just add just plain instructions to this as well. So maybe it's a cool down. I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but then what I can just do is say like, spend 5 minutes doing your favorite stretches. Whoop. Something like that, right? So then I can go through and it just gives them some instructions. So the freestyle one, basically kind of a little bit self-explanatory with the name, but it allows you to really like have a lot of freedom in what you can do within this particular section. So it doesn't quite have as much structure as the other exercises. So you'll notice even as I add the exercises, I don't necessarily prescribe sets or reps or intensity or anything to these ones. It just lists the exercises. So again, I could potentially list like 15 stretches, and then in here just say, spend 5 minutes doing your favorite stretches, or maybe I say, pick 5 exercises from the list, whatever, right? So it just gives you a little bit of freedom to do that. So sometimes some of those workouts maybe don't quite fit into some of the current formats that we have. This is where the freestyle section can come in handy. All right, so hopefully that helps. All right, so Lauren, how would you do a couch to 10K running program? Is it possible to set up? Absolutely. I'll do you one better on that one. And if you go to programs, you go to explore templates. And then if you filter cardiovascular training, there's actually a couch to 5K and a half marathon training program that you can download. So if you download that into your library, come down here it is. So again, it's got day 1, week 1. So I've used a few different types of sections here. So regular section here, just as like a walk, for instance. Now I've got an interval section. So again, this is just going to be 60 seconds jogging, 60 seconds walking. You could do this one of 2 ways. You could create a 60-second rest for these and then just say walk in your rest period, or maybe, I just did it this way. So it was a little bit clearer of when to jog, when to walk, and it goes through. And then there's a cool down as well with some stretching and whatnot. And then, you just build it out like a normal program. And then if you wanted to build, then this is a couch to 5K. And then there was also a half marathon. If you wanted to create your own couch to 10K, I would suggest downloading one of these templates, duplicating it, and then editing it. It would probably save you a lot of time as opposed to building it out from scratch. All right. So yes, again, just a reminder, there will be a recording sent out to everybody via email. And then I think that is it. I know we're coming up to time. So hopefully this was valuable to everybody. Hopefully I got to everybody's question. If not, feel free to, I'll drop my email in the chat right now. Feel free to send me an email if you have any specific questions, or I know a couple of you had a few, sorry, I'm blanking, had a few feature ideas or upgrades and things. Again, like I said, Adam and Kenny, but feel free to shoot me an email as well with those after this, just so I don't forget about them, and we'll try and take action. But there's my email. Let me know, like I said, if you have any questions. Other than that, thank you everybody for coming today. Based on the chat, it looks like some of you, or at least, got some good value out of this, which is always nice to see. We will likely be trying to host more of these types of webinars that will likely be me or one of the other team members kind of going through a specific aspect of the platform. and having a lot of Q&A and kind of helping you guys through it. So keep an eye out for those coming in the new year. And then, as always, shameful plug for Everfit Academy. If you're not on it, go to academy.everfit.io, sign up. There's a bunch of content coming in the next week as well, which will be really valuable. But with that, yeah, just wanted to say thanks again for coming, and we'll see you next time.